Alright, you bastards, this is Some-Belgian-prepper, and today I want to talk about something that is often overlooked for the preppers, and that is humor. What are the benefits of humor, how you can implement in your survival plans, and yeah, it will be all in the video. But before we do that, if you're interested in detective stories, I wrote the first part of a detective story that's called Bloody Crosses. It's in Dutch, and if you're interested, it will be down. The link will be down in the description. So, humor. Humor is something very important. I find it one of the most important things in life. If you can't laugh, what's the point? I would say. So, humor can be utilized in several ways in for prepping. It can be used, especially in psychological ways, to get to your goals or to help further your process. It can be done in especially in four separate parts, I would say: disarming, stress relief, escapism, and encouragement. I'm going one by one how you can implement these. I will start with disarming. Disarming humor can be utilized to disarm a situation. What do I mean by that? You can lighten the tension between people, the situation. For example, during bartering, if you're going to barter with a person who is too serious, yeah, that could a little get a little bit hard-headed heads together. But if you can lighten the person, humor them a little bit, use some jokes, that could lighten the tension, and it will persuade the person you barter with to go a little bit easier on you. It's not always the case if they are too serious people or too greedy, but it's something that could help. I noticed that this is something that helped when I stood at a flea market. If you want to barter with people or you want to sell something, just some jokes and could get you a long way. Um, Next thing, for meeting new people. During a survival situation, whether it's a bug out, whether it's with meeting new neighbors, meeting people on the way during a bug out, meeting official persons like police or border guards, something like that. If you can, if you have a little bit sense of humor, you can persuade the person and a little bit more. If you're too serious, to look too scared or too serious, they will think that you're up to no good. But if you, I would say, try to use a little bit humor, but not too much, because otherwise you look you look a little bit like a clown for people who are too serious. You got to have a little bit of balance between it. Next thing, I would use it, and that is something that I like to use at dates, for example, is test how people are. If you want, it's just something like interrogation. If you want to know a person, humor is a great way to do that. See how people react by telling jokes, by fooling a little bit around, and that person, you can see how they react to certain jokes, to certain foolishness. How serious are they, and what they take, what can they not take. You can, and gauge goes a whole long way by looking at those reactions of people when using humor for interrogation or for to knowing people, especially if you want to know how people would react in certain situations, especially when they are high tense. But that comes for the next part. I would also say it's also humor can also be used for evasion. What do I mean by that? If you are being held, capture, being pointed a gun at, it can be used. Humor can be used to give you a little bit leeway, a little bit distraction. So in a case of kidnapping, you could be a little bit disarming, because if you use a little bit humor, that could make your captures a little bit easier on you, and they will be less likely to hurt you or to have the angry feelings that they would have towards you would be a little bit less, and then you will have a little bit less abuse. And when you are doing a kidnapping, when you're a little bit less abused, you have more chance that you will be in better shape for when the time is to escape. And this is the next thing I want to say. If you use humor, you could, if you have a little bit leeway to fool around, you can step. If you going to make to do some foolery or to make some jokes that need a little bit space, that could give you a little bit. How do you say this? It could give you a little bit opportunity to watch the situation, watch where the exits are, watch how far you can go without being punished for it, because it was part of the joke. Um, and next time when you're going to do that joke, then you can have a more opportunity to get away, because they think that you will joke or fool around a little bit yet again. And yeah, the same thing goes. It's like in that movie with I think it was a movie with Mel Gibson. It was a movie where he was being held at point gun, and instead of being all serious and scared, he was just making your mama or your wife jokes to the gunman, and the gunman found it amusing, laughed a little bit, and that gave him the opportunity to pull his weapon or to disarm him. So yeah, humor could be also be utilized in that way. I don't say it's always this the case, but it's a worth trying, I would say. And if you're going to die, you will die at least laughing and jokingly. Mm. Now we're going to the next part, and that is encouragement. I would say encouragement is best explained. Um, how do I? If somebody is from the British Army that watches this, tell me if this is right, because I once heard that the British Army marches on its humor, and in a way that is actually kind of right. If you're in the army, uh, you will see a lot of dark humor. You will see a lot of fooling around, because there is nothing else to do. You don't have your iPad with you. You don't can go to the library to get some jokes out of a book. You are dependent with your group that you live in high stress small situations with not much to do, or sometimes you have to wait for a long period of time with nothing but your hands, your mind, and yeah, you can do some jokes, some fooling around, and that could give some encouragement among the people. Not only it's not only useful in the army, but also not only for if it's your job, but also just with people in general. If you are on a bug out with a group, that that's using humor could give some encouragement, especially to the people who are not used to be in a very stressful situation, or to young people who have less experience with stressful situations. And that's good. If you give humor by example, they will pick that up and they will feel a little bit more relief, because they see that you have humor, so the situation must be not that bad, or they will aspire to be a little bit like that, to show some encouragement, to say I would also say the graffiti is also something that you can do as encouragement, whether it's during a war, during a during a difficult political situation, or during a disaster. You sometimes see people, even for example, when I drive around in town, I sometimes see graffiti, and usually it's graffiti that is often negative. It's about something that's happened in the news. People reacted bad with anger, and it's angry graffiti. But I would say, if you're going to use graffiti, use it as a humorous way. Try to give some uplifting, or some um, dark humor perhaps, but something with humor that make people laugh a little bit to the situation, how bad it is, how bad it whether it is. Graffiti that is a little bit not cynical, but satire, I would say, that could help elevate the situation for certain people that walk by, whether it's you, whether it's somebody who is affiliated with it, or just passing by. That could be a very encouragement way to help other people with humor. Next thing is stress relief. Yeah, stress relief is obvious. If you can use some humor during a high stress situation, that could help people lower down their stress. That's obvious, and it could relate. If you use humor, you relate. What's the English word? That you make the situation look less than it is, just to encourage people. That could also help relieve the stress and make the situation less shitty than it already is. And how do we say this? What I also want to say with stress relief is, it's also a good indication when to not use humor. I would say use humor in a situation that you need some encouragement and stress relief, but if you stop using humor, that should be a cue to your friends, to the people in your bug out party, or to anyone who is with your group, to think, is there is no joking around, shit hit the fan, and they will act upon it, instead of thinking you're joking, right? You know, the typical, yeah, you're joking, right? It should be an indication to all of the group that something serious is going on and they need the full alertness of the situation. But when you making jokes again, that's a sign to other people that, yeah, the situation is relative okay right now, or safe, or at least safe, so to say. Escapism, that means that you use humor to get over get over the boring situation. Many people think that they would think that a high stress situation is something that you're always full of adrenaline. You do things constantly, did and that, but oftentimes, whether it's a bug out, bug in scenario, whether you're waiting in a refugee camp, whether it's you're waiting till it's your turn at a checkpoint, um, or something, or doing a long during camping or something, it could get boring for some, especially for some people. It could get boring because they are used to being stimulated certain ways, and it's like I said earlier, if you're in the military or the police or you do some hard labor, dark humor or foolery is something that's bound to happen to get to see of the stressful situation and to bonding with the group. So yeah, that's a good indication for that. I think I lost my train of thought around here. And yeah, escapism, and it help you. I think I had a little bit too much beer. So example for this is make jokes, use practical jokes, goof around. Like I said before, use the graffiti or to leave a mark that anybody can think about, like something funny that they could think back from. What if somebody would find this? That could help the situation to stimulate people when you got nothing to do. So yeah, I'm back in my train of thoughts. And yeah, example is I wrote a biography about cowboys who would be on the prairie gathering cows to from one place to the other over hundreds of kilometers, and that could take months, and it could get very boring for those cowboys. And there was a passage about a cowboy named, they called him Bluey in the biography, and Blue was a person who thought during a long boring time that they had to wait till dinner was ready, they would hang a straw man onto a telephone pole while a train was passing by, and all the passengers were all shocked because they thought they were hanging people. The train stopped and they were investigating, and the cowboys laughed their asses off because they discovered it was a straw doll that they hanged. And yeah, it's something dark humor like that that I was talking about, but it's humor fodder for a very long time that you can still laugh about days after. So yeah, that's a good example of that. And yeah, that's about it that I want to talk about humor. Except, if somebody has some other ideas that how you can implement humor into survival and prepping, please let me know in the comments. I'm always eager to learn, and in case I forgot something because I lost my train of thoughts during this video. And yeah, like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and see you in the next video. Cheers. And